So make sure you have a bit of space. But that is happening in the next 10 minutes. All right, DJ? All right, all right. Good morning once again. Raise your hand wherever you are. Just wave. I'm sure this is the only exercise some of us will do for the rest of the day. But I assure you, you are going to dance today. Today is the day we show our two left feet. As engineers, I know they say that engineers only know how to construct things that are solid. But today, we will dance. And I will choose randomly. Each and every table will give us a representative. We will decide who wins what at any given point. But without any further ado, welcome so much to the launch of the National Construction Research Agenda. We're calling it Nacra, and the Construction Industry Outlook, that is CIO. My name is Trevor Mbija. It's an absolute honor to be here with you this morning. Just a few housekeeping rules. Kindly let us all keep our masks on at all times, including the speakers who will be up here. Kindly ensure that you keep your mask on at all times. You're still dealing with COVID-19. We are not out of the woods just yet. Yesterday, the positivity rate was at 9.4%. We're bracing for a possible wave of COVID-19, so we'll ensure that we do our best to take care of ourselves and take care of each other as well. If you wish to visit the restrooms, you'd walk out and turn left, walk through the pavement, and you will be guided by ushers there, all right? Without any further ado, we've slightly been pressed for time, but I assure you we will catch up on time. For now, let us all kindly be upstanding for the National Anthem. This is not the point to start dancing. I will let you know when you're dancing. For now, let us kindly all be upstanding for the National Anthem, and then we will start the program officially. Thank you so much. DJ. Thank you so much. Kindly be seated. I decided to save you the pressure because I know some of you, the last time you heard the National Anthem or even sang it was in primary school. So I figured I'll just help you through it and have the song sung instead of asking you to sing. Without any further ado, and in the interest of time, I'd like to call upon QS David Mathu, the General Manager, Construction Research, Business Development, and Capacity Building, to make brief welcoming remarks and tell us why we are here. In the transition period, there will be sanitization of the area as we move aside. Thank you. A round of applause for QS David Mathu as he comes up. A proper round of applause, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Mr. MC, Trevor. Our PS, I believe we should be arriving in a short while, although we'll get more advice from our CEO. The chairman of the National Construction Authority's board, QS David Gaido. All the board members are present here today. Our executive director, Engineer Maurice Akech, the senior management team from the National Construction Authority,
Thank you.
Sorry, yes, thank you. Sorry, ladies and gentlemen. Allow me to once again offer my protocol observations. I started by saying our chief guest for today, who is also our PS for State Department of Public Works, Major General Retired Gordon Kihalangwa, our chairman for the board on the National Construction Authority, QS David Gaido, all the board members of the National Construction Authority present here today, the executive director of the National Construction Authority, Engineer Maurice Akech, the senior management of the National Construction Authority, the staff from NCA, all invited guests, ladies and gentlemen, all of us, good morning. Good morning once again. Asante sana. Mr. PS, it gives us a great pleasure as one of the agencies under your coordination to be convened here today to discuss matters construction research. We firmly believe as an authority that for any country to really make great strides in terms of realizing its socioeconomic aspirations, the role of research is critical. And as clearly laid out under Section 5 of the National Construction Authority Act, number 41, research is a core role. It's a critical role that NCA should undertake. And Mr. PS, supported by our board and the management, we have worked tirelessly to produce 2 documents which are available before us this morning. And that is the Construction Industry Outlook, a product of the National Construction Research Agenda. Now, the first Construction Research Agenda was developed around 2015. And this agenda was supposed to serve us from the period around 2014 up to the period 2017. And we did very well. It was a huge document, unlike the current one, where we had 17 thematic areas. And we endeavored, supported by the board, and again also working with the larger industry stakeholders, and especially the faculty that focuses on research, to make sure that we have delivered on the 17 themes. And our monitoring reveals we actualized more than 90% of the initial Nacra agenda 2014-2017. Mr. PS, today we have a new version of the agenda, which is Agenda 2020 up to 2024, which is supposed to be a framework coordinating matters research in the construction industry in Kenya. This document has been supported by a multi-agency team led by the University of Nairobi, where we had the chair, Dr. Mbadha, and several other players within the construction industry, working hard to produce the second edition of the National Construction Research Agenda. The current version has 8 thematic areas and several subtopics for research. And it's supposed to be a framework upon which universities can guide their researchers, be they members of the faculty, PhD students, master students, and undergraduate students, so that whatever we are researching in a country is coordinated. We realized previously research was happening in different government organizations on matters research, but it was not coordinated. We believe this document will be able to harness all the efforts in the construction industry and thereby produce something that really focuses on the challenges that we are facing as an industry. Mr. PS, for the first time, we are producing the Construction Industry Outlook, which is molded around what we have from the Kenya National Bureau of Statistics, the Economic Survey. We believe as the agency that is supposed to oversee the construction industry, and as per Section 5, we should be able to offer the country a construction industry information system. We believe this is a small part in terms of forming the overall construction industry information system. And NCA going forward should be a hub of data related to the construction industry. And that is why we are very happy having you, Mr. PS, this morning to also launch alongside Nacra the Construction Industry Outlook, edition number 1. Now, having said that, I believe all these documents will be very useful to the policymakers. They will be very useful to the investors in our country, both foreign and local. And again, they'll also be found to be very useful to the larger academia. Now, I would like to request, with your permission, Mr. PS, I now just mention a few institutions that are present here and make all of us feel welcome to this event. I want to single out the presence of Kenya Roads Board. We have Institution of Engineers of Kenya present here today, the Kenya National Bureau of Statistics, East African School of Aviation, the Kenya Ports Authority, Architectural Association of Kenya, Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission. We have the BORAX, which is the Board of Registration of Architects and Quantity Surveyors. We have the Institute of Quantity Surveyors of Kenya, Communications Authority of Kenya, Kenya Rural Roads Authority, National Lands Commission, Kenya Urban Roads Authority, National Building Inspectorate. We have the World Bank, the head of Infrastructure Unit, who is following online. We have the State Department of Public Works. We have Jomo Kenyatta University of Agriculture and Technology. We have Energy and Petroleum Regulatory Authority. We have Mabati Rolling Mills Limited. We have Genesis Infrastructure. We have National Industrial Training Authority. We have the State Department for Housing and Urban Development. We have the State Department of Public Works. We have Kenyatta University. We have REBWAC, Kenya Law Reform Commission, the EBK, TVETA. We have Tokia International. We have University of Nairobi. We have NACOSTI. We have Australian Embassy. We have the Ministry of Environment. We have the Business France. We have ICPMK for project managers. We also have Kenya Building Research Center. We have also the NEMA, KPDA, National Housing Corporation, and I believe several others that I may not have mentioned. All of us, on behalf of the National Construction Authority, I would like to welcome you most sincerely and say asanteni sana for availing your time and for being here this morning. With those several remarks, I want to say asanteni sana na karibuni sana. God bless you.
Thank you very, very much. A round of applause for QS David Mathu. Asante sana. And now, without any further ado, I'd like to call upon the chair of NACRA committee to give a brief remark, Dr. Engineer Christopher Mbatha, to just give a brief remark, and then he will invite the vice chair, Dr. Edwin Oyaro, to take us through the presentation. Chair, thank you so much for making time. A round of applause for Dr. Engineer Christopher Mbatha as he goes up. Thank you very, very much.
Our chief guest today, the PS, our CEO, the board members, the chairman, NCA staff, all invited guests, ladies and gentlemen, good morning. My role this morning is first of all to appreciate that you have come to launch our document. This was prepared, analyzed, evaluated, and disseminated by a committee in the year 2020. The initial document was to last for 3 years, but this one reviewed to take 5 years. So it's from 2020 to 2024. It's today that we are officially launching so that any interested parties can participate in researching on those identified themes. I will later introduce my vice chairman who present a presentation highlighting the areas that we identified as priority for the time being. But I must say, just like Sir Isaac Newton, the scientist who discovered gravity, one time he was sitting on a beach and they found a very beautiful pebble. And a passerby was admiring that pebble. We told him, in front of us is an ocean. So you can imagine how many other pebbles there are, beautiful ones like this one. There are millions. So what we have done as a committee, we have just discovered a few pebbles which are in 8 thematic areas. The rest still lies undiscovered, unidentified, and as we continue to implement the research, there will be recommendations on new areas of research that will be discovered as the research is done, and that is the way to discover the rest of the pebbles, and that is indefinite. The construction industry is based on 4 thematic study areas, namely law, management, technology, and economics. So the 8 areas that we have discovered are emanating from those main study areas, but then they are broken further down into the areas that my colleague will go through. Before I finish, let me take the opportunity to thank my committee members and ask those who are present to just stand up and wave at the members. I'm the chairman. My vice is Dr. Edwin Oyaro. Oyaro, wherever you are, please. The other departments represented in that committee are Kenyan Building Research Center. Is there anybody who represents that? Please, just say your name.
My name is Architect Oliver Okello.
Thank you, Okello. Then we have the Kenya Law Reform Commission. Anybody from there? Okay, say your name again. Okay, Susan, thank you. We have the State Development Department of Vocational and Technical Training. A rep, State Department of Vocational and TVET, yeah? Thank you. Then we have Kenya Property Development Association. Thank you. We have Kenya National Bureau of Statistics. Anybody from there? Morning. Then we have State Department of Public Works. Then there is State Department of Housing and Urban Development. Thank you. No name? Institution of Construction Project Management of Kenya, QS Tom Okech, my colleague. Then we have State Department of University Education and Research. Morning. Institute of Conservators of Kenya. Okay. And finally, we have Institution of Surveyors of Kenya. Institution of Surveyors of Kenya? Nobody? So thank you very much. Those are my committee members, and through their effort and cooperation, we managed to produce this document. This time around, let me call upon Dr. Edwin Oyaro to give a highlight of this document. And please, you can project.
Thank you very much. A round of applause for Engineer Dr. Christopher Mbatha and Vice Chair Dr. Edwin Oyaro. And another round of applause for the Nakra committee. I realized they were all standing, but we didn't applause them. Thank you so, so much. All right, Vice Chair, over to you.
The chief guest, the PS, State Department of Works, the Board of Management, the NCA, the ED, ladies and gentlemen, good morning. Good morning again. Yes, we've come a long way in the development of Nacra. Can somebody assist me to? Yes, yeah, thank you. As the chairman of Nacra has mentioned, we've been developing this document starting 2020, but because of because of COVID and other issues, it has taken a little bit longer for us to be able to actually have this document out, but finally we have it out. Now, this has been quite some work done jointly between the stakeholders and the NCA in trying to produce this document. My work today is basically to make a presentation of this and show you the highlights. Yeah, can we project, please? Yes. These are the contents of the document, and the document is now a booklet, and I think all of you are going to get this booklet at the end of the day, and I think we download it in the internet from the NCA site. So it's a document that we'll be able to have and to be able to utilize, not as just NCA, but as all stakeholders, and particularly the institutions that are charged with the responsibility of doing research, so that we can assist NCA in trying to achieve the objectives of Nakra and also actually the country at large. So the contents of the document are the role and mandate of NCA, and I'll go through this, the introduction of Nakra, I'll do that, recommended research areas, implementation of Nakra, and monitoring and evaluation, and then the review of the agenda. I'll go through this step by step, and I'll do it quickly. Let me move on, please. Okay, so I got it now. So, the mandate of NCA. I don't think I need to reiterate that anymore. Really, it's been said. We know what the mandate of NCA is, and part of that mandate is to do research. Yeah, the other mandates, I think, we are all very aware of the other mandates. Now, the introduction to Nakra, that is the launch. NCA first launched the National Construction Authority Research Agenda, that is in Nakra, in 2014 for the period. The first one was 2014-2017, which was 3 years. It had a number of themes, and there were major successes achieved through that, but after evaluation, of course, we realized that we need to make more effort to actually achieve much more. And so the objectives for Nakra were to highlight gaps and current issues, bring together researchers with policy makers, professionals, institutions and other construction industry stakeholders, and support research in the construction industry. Basically, that is the objective of Nakra. We want to support research by bringing on board everybody that does anything close to research or some kind of research. The next, of course, is the strategic plan. So the authority research activity, authority research activities are aimed at enhancing infrastructure development, which is key sector in the realization of the Vision 2030. So we're all aware of the Vision 2030. This is, we are geared towards achieving that. And the 2030 isn't very far. It's actually about 8 years away from now. And we got to try and, as much as possible, achieve that. Now, how do we do this? It's through dissemination. So the International Construction Research Conference and Exhibition, that is ICOS, allows researchers to discuss their research outcomes and innovations with the industry players. Now, NCA came up with the conference. Unfortunately, it's been not held because of COVID, so we've not been holding it, but dissemination has been going on. So the aim of Nacra is basically to disseminate knowledge. Once we have knowledge, we shouldn't leave it in the shelves. And this is what happens, unfortunately, in our universities, in our research institutions, is that we do not disseminate what we find. Those of us in academia know that more university could be doing our research, and somebody will be declaring that this is original research, and somebody is doing the same in the University of Nairobi, and they're declaring the same. How do we do this? Now, there are other activities that are going on right now within the ministry and within NCA, trying to get a way around that, so that whenever research happens in this country, we actually know about it, all of us, so that we don't have to repeat it. We move on. So we had a number of areas, the earlier Nakra. This Nakra, the stakeholders decided that we are going to trim down the thematic areas into 8 areas, core areas of research. These are just themes. And within these theme areas, we have several researches. And within them, we are encouraging researchers to try to focus on, on any area in which they have strength, so that we develop knowledge in those areas. And these areas are, the first one is construction technology and materials. This is a major area that is of great concern to us. We've been trying to reduce the cost of building. There is a lot of literature around how we can reduce the cost of buildings, but you realize it's becoming a mirage. It's very, very difficult. But despite that, I think there's an effort to try to see how we can utilize alternative materials and technologies to do this. And NCA has been doing research on that, and other agencies actually doing research in these areas. So this area is a very broad area, which we expect that a lot of institutions and other agencies could dwell on. Then there's construction management, which is a big issue, and even from the ministry, that projects never get finished sometimes. And sometimes when they get finished, the costs are short. So how is it that these things happen? So construction management as a thematic area is very wide, and once you get the document, you'll be able to see some of the areas that stakeholders were able to highlight that actually need to be interrogated. Then there's risk and safety management, which is very core. If we were out of this country, this could be the first one. But in Kenya, it's number 3. Elsewhere, it's, we must keep safe and all that. But still, anyway, it's a major thematic area which we need to focus on. Then there are environmental issues, which is very core. This global warming and other issues. So environment issues are very, very core in the construction industry and everywhere else. And so they've been given as a priority area of research under the environment issues thematic area. Then the 5th one is the construction economics. Not too far from construction management, but construction economics is also an area in itself that we need to tackle. Then there's capacity development, which is also a key area. As you're aware, we're losing work in this country to contractors from outside of this country. The reason being that we may not have that capacity. I don't think that if we gave a Kenyan contractor Mombasa, road to deal with, I don't think we have capacity to do that. But we can develop that capacity, really, and we can transfer that knowledge to our people and skills so that we can start actually to do these things. And there is a big issue about that, and right now, NCA has just done a research on technology transfer, and I think the results will be out so that we can then start to appreciate how far down we are in terms of technology transfer, because we have not been able to deal with our construction issues as some of our foreign partners are able to deal with them. So then there is the legal and regulatory framework. Obviously, this is an area that we need to streamline in this country so that we we can then have a coordinated way of doing things so that people are not doing things where they're doing them and we are not able to agree on how the best way to do it. Once that is done and streamlined, that will be a plus for this country and we'll be able to achieve our objectives of having a vibrant construction industry. Then lastly, there is construction and politics. This was thought to be quite important. For every project done in this country, there is a political dimension. I think we all know that. There's politics everywhere. How do we deal with the politics of construction? So these are the issues, and there are areas of research under that which we thought were important. So these are the main 8 thematic areas that we were able to generate. Now, the strategies of achieving these. I think I should read from my mobile phone because I can't see it too well. So the first one is, of course, through collaboration and partnership. And we are requesting that all partners who are seated here, you know, when you get back to your places of work, to your various departments and authorities and agencies, you know, we need collaboration. That will be very important. NCA cannot do these things alone, and there is that appreciation. Yeah, the Nacra committee appreciated that NCA cannot undertake these responsibilities alone, so we must collaborate with all our partners in doing this, and particularly research institutions. The universities have really to come in, and I think under Nacra there is a strategy of how to bring this on board so that much more work can be done outside of NCA. Then the other one is resource mobilization again. So this will entail seeking financial and human resource support to be utilized in the implementation of NACRA from local and international organizations. And as you may not be aware, but within NCA, you know, we're starting to seek support to have this done, research done. Research can be very expensive, and government funding alone may not be able to support us. So we must seek financial resources from other places to be able to facilitate this research. Then, of course, there's dissemination, which is very critical, that this information that we are producing, we are creating, knowledge must be disseminated and will not be, you know, hanging out there in shelves, collecting dust. This is very critical. And this, you know, we're looking at a way of, you know, trying to do that and making sure that dissemination is effective. Then there is commercialization of the research outcomes. We expect that under NACRA, the 5-year agenda, we're going to have to, much research will happen, and therefore innovation is expected to also take place. Once we innovate, we need to register those innovations. So we will wish that this to happen, and I think under NACRA, we will be looking out to ensure that once we come up with new knowledge, new techniques of doing things, that these are properly registered and therefore commercialized for purposes of earning us some money. Then there's monitoring, evaluation, and reporting. There is a section on that in the agenda, and I think we'll be able to read and appreciate. Then there's implementation of the research. Funded and directly implemented by the authority, outsourcing by the authority, sponsorship of NCA officers, pursuing master's and PhD studies, encouraging local universities to pursue areas in line with NACRA, to encourage master's and PhD students in foreign universities to pursue areas in line with the NACRA agenda, especially those who have case studies in the country. Now, this is one of the ways in which we're going to implement this, through encouraging our partners, our sponsors, and supporting the PhDs and the masters, as QS Matthew put it. This must start to happen. And the NACRA agenda has come up with a strategy on how that will be done. I only hope that the board will be able to support this, and that the ministry will also support this, so that at the end of the day, then we'll be able to achieve the objectives of NACRA. So, the review of the agenda. This agenda will be reviewed quarterly. We expect that as we make our quarterly returns on performance improvement within department, within NCA, that Nakra will be part of that. That the team in charge of Nakra will be reporting on progress quarterly within NCA itself. And secondly, there will be an annual evaluation of Nakra. What is it that we have achieved each year, so that we are able to follow up where there's a shortfall, then we can do something in the following year to catch up. And finally, there will be a final evaluation which will be done at the end of 5 years to take stock of what has happened and be able then, of course, to work on the next agenda. Yeah. And I think I will end there, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so much.
All right, thank you very much. Another round of applause for Vice Chair Dr. Edwin Oyaro. Another round of applause for him. Thank you very, very much. And now, without any further ado, I'd like to call upon Isaac Kariuki Ndegwa, is the Chair, CIO, that is the Construction Industry Outlook Multi-Agency Committee. Isaac Kariuki Ndegwa to come and make very brief remarks as he also introduces Engineer Stephen Nyakondo, who will then give highlights of the Construction Industry Outlook. Give him a round of applause. Isaac Kariuki Ndegwa, Chairperson, CIO, Multi-Agency Committee. Thank you so much, sir.
Okay, good morning. Our chief guest, Bwana PS, the chair, the board of management at the National Construction Authority, board members, NCA, our executive director, NCA, Engineer Akesh, the senior management of at the National Construction Authority, all staff, and all institutions that are represented in this lounge, all protocols observed. Good morning once again. My name is Isaac Ndegwa. As I stand here, I'm wearing 2 hats. You saw me standing in when we were called in as members of the Nakra team. So I'm representing the institution in that committee. I was also nominated by the institution to be the representative at the CIO. At the most where I was then given the heart of sharing that multi-agency committee that was looking at the construction industry outlook. So, as the Nakra Vice Chair has rightly mentioned, you have seen all the research agenda items. And if you looked at agenda number 5, where we are talking about the construction economics, what we basically mean is that we need a lot of information, and also correct information, to be able to steer forward the industry outlook. And I must say that I'm greatly honored to have been the chair of that team, and I'm also seeing that we already have an initial output from that activity, despite the hardships that we have been going through because of what is with us, the COVID pandemic. For sure, there has been a lot of collaboration between our institution, that is the Kenya National Bureau of Statistics, and the National Construction Authority through the Executive Director's office. And more so, it's good to mention that there's still a lot of work that needs to be done, especially in terms of ensuring that the benchmarks that we will be relying on with regard to the sector, that is the construction sector, they are up to date. And I think that team is geared to ensuring that we have up-to-date information so that we can be able to correctly measure the performance of that sector. I also envisage that we are also going to have a lot of continued engagement, and it is my opportunity to thank NCA, especially the Executive Director, for agreeing to engage more with us as an institution. For those of you who are aware, Kenya National Bureau of Statistics is the agency within the government that is mandated to be the custodian of all official statistics. And given that role, we need to be in a position also to be able to guide NCA to ensure that we are able to produce quality construction statistics, given the many players that in one way or the other they are handling statistics that have components to inform the sector. And without much ado, because I know we have Engineer Stephen Nyakondo, who will be doing a small presentation with regard to what the small team has been able to work on. Mine is to thank the NCA once again, and I hope that we will continue doing further collaborations, because in the course of our discussion, of course, we have identified one or two areas that need to be really looked at, so that when we come back here again to do the presentation in terms of the second phase, then the kind of numbers that will be reflected with regard to the sector, I am sure they will be reflecting the reality on the ground. And then without much ado, I think it is my greatest honor now to invite Engineer Steve to come and do the details with regard to the CIO and what the team has been able to do, to put together. Otherwise, thank you very much. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Chair. A round of applause for Chair and his team, including also Engineer Stephen Nyakondo, who will then now just give us brief highlights of the construction industry outlook, that is the CIO. We're still a bit pressed for time, so we'll be fast forwarding most of these events to ensure we catch up on time. Engineer.
Thank you, guest of honor, PS, board members, executive director, and all members been able to come in. Good morning. I'll just take us very quickly through the presentation. I hope we'll be able to catch up on the time that we have. The construction industry outlook. The construction industry outlook is a document that was envisaged by the authority in terms of trying to provide information in regards to the construction industry. And the CIO has been looked at as a document that's supposed to be to give verifiable information for our stakeholders. And as an authority, we've had a lot of interactions with the international partners who would want to come into the construction industry, and we realize that there is a gap in terms of the information that is available. So that's the essence why we have the CIO. This document has been able to be developed based on the information that is available currently in the market, what Kenya National Bureau of Statistics has been able to collect, what we collect as the authority, and the various agencies that we engaged, so that we can be able to get information on the industry growth rate, the contribution to the GDP, the amount of money that is spent in terms of government expenditure, the loans that the construction industry has been taken into, the projects that we register as authority, and also the construction workers that we register as an authority. Sorry. This document, because this is the first one that we are developing, we were able to get information from our database as the authority, because we generate a lot of information based on the registrations that we've done. And we also engaged our partners, the government bodies, agencies, and partners that in the construction industry. And we also had participation from the private sector. And this information was analyzed, put together through our teams using the various information tools that we have. And the document, what we got guidance from Kenya National Bureau of Statistics, that to try and get a very good outlook, usually you base it between 150 to 250 days of the year of review. So in this case, the document that you are looking at is based on the year 2019. I'll go very quickly through the statistics that we've been able to generate. It will be very fast, but if you have a glance at the document, this information you'll be able to see it there. Based on the 2016, from 2016 all the way to 2019, that is how the construction industry has been able to move. You can be able to see the trend, starting from 6.1 in 2013, It went up to the maximum in 2015, and I think there's the issue of the SGR and the lap set, they really pushed the industry at that point. And in 2019, it started going down, and I think basically it's the issue of COVID, and basically the main projects that we were looking at, the mega projects, most of them stopped at that point in time. When you look at the issue of the materials, because we also tried to look at the materials, in the document you will see that there are very many other materials like steel that has been analyzed. We picked out on cement, especially on how we've been able to consume cement. If you look at the green trend line there, it shows the amount of cement that we import, and the blue trend line shows the amount of cement that we export. So if you can be able to compare, and you'll see how, as an industry, we've been able to consume the cement in the country. 2019 was quite low, basically because there was the issue of COVID, so there was very little export in terms of the cement. The other thing that we also looked at is how government has been spending, because in the construction industry, government is the major spender. If you look at it, you see the trend line in terms of the spending. The blue line shows the expenditure in housing, how much money has been put into housing, and the green trend line shows the national government expenditure on roads. So basically, you can be able to see the trend, and as we move on towards 2021, probably as we get the next year's outlook, you'll be able to see that the trend line is going up and up in terms of the expenditure of government in construction. The new roads, I think this one I've already mentioned, that it is growing. There are very many new roads coming up. When it comes to government, the private sector borrowing money, money that is going directly into construction, you'll be able to see that it's also growing, although through the analysis, maybe when you look at the document, you'll find that it is not commensurate to what is it that we are inputting directly into the construction industry. So there are proposals that maybe this funding comes from outside, so we need to go further and see how much of this comes from outside, apart from the local spending in terms of the loans that we get from the banks. The other thing is we are looking at is also the machinery. You'll see that we've been doing a lot of imports in terms of machinery. The green line shows the imports that have been coming in from 2015 all through to 2019. We are happy that now the blue line is growing. It means that our local industry is also producing, we are also producing our own machinery. When you come to the projects that we are currently working on, and we've been able to pick them out in terms of the major cities in the country, Nairobi is leading. Nairobi County is leading with 270 million in terms of investment in construction, and Kisumu quite way back there. If you look at the document, also the other 47 counties have been listed there. So these are the major projects that have been registered. The trend line in terms of the expenditure, you'll also see that the 2019 quarter one was quite high in terms of money that was invested in construction, close to 1.065 billion. And it has been going down. I think it went down because of the COVID-19. So we are still tracking the statistics as we go on. In terms of green construction, that's also another area that as an authority we've had a lot of interest. What is it that Kenya is experiencing in terms of green construction? You'll see that the lines that have been indicated there, the blue line, the yellow line, all indicate the different grading tools that have landed into the country. We have the Green Star that is being managed by South Africa. We have our own Safari that has been developed locally by the University of Nairobi. We have a LEED, which is also an American standard. So these are the projects that have been registered, and we've been able to track and see that they are all green projects. We also can be able to see there, I don't know if you can be able to show, but there are professionals who have been registered. The second bar charts, they show the professionals that have been registered for green registration of projects. So it means as a country, we are also moving very fast towards green construction, and we're encouraging it as much as possible. As an authority, we want to be among the leaders. Our Center of Construction Industry Development, which is being spearheaded by Public Works, we intend it to be a green project when it is completed. In terms of contractor registration, as an authority, that is also our key role, trying to make sure that the industry is well supplied with the contractors. We have close to 44,000 contractors that have been registered under NCA 8. These are certificates that have been issued since 2015 up to now. And NCA 1, we have 1,758. So this is, you'll be able to get this information in the document, just to give you a breakdown of how we've been having the contractors all the way from 2016 up to now. In terms of renewals, the certificates and the renewals, we usually do renewals every other year. The certificates are different from the renewals, so you can be able to see the statistics there in terms of the renewals. The validity period of 2020-2021 all the way to 2018, you can be able to get the rates in terms of renewal, the percentage rate of renewal. As we were starting in 2019-2018, there was quite good reflection in terms of the renewals. But as we move closer towards 2021, the rate of renewal reduced, probably because of COVID-19 and maybe because business has not been very good in the country. So these are statistics that are important for us to be able to look at and analyze. Further, in terms of training, because as a regulator, we also ensure that the contractors that we register and the construction workers, they are trained. So if you look at the statistics there, starting from 2015, we were training only contractors, but we've moved quite fast. In 2018, we were able to do training for construction workers, close to 10,000. 2019, because of the COVID issue, I think the numbers also dropped down. We also engaged our partner bodies, the BORACs and the EBK. We were able to get some information in terms of the professionals that are in the industry, because this is also important information in terms of what is it that we can be able to support each other on. The architects, you can see there the statistics are showing that currently, as of November 2019, they had 1,500 licensed and compliant architects, the QSs also, planners, and the engineers. So these statistics, we were able to get it from the various bodies to show what the industry looks like in terms of professional outlook. So given that we have these documents, so what is it that we are looking at? And we also try to look at the issues of the regulatory framework. What are the new things that are happening in the construction industry? And we hope that as the years go by, this is going to be reflective every other year, so that we can keep our stakeholders updated on what are the new strategies or what are the reforms that the industry is going through. We have the Physical and Land Use Planning Act, which was enacted in 2019. Currently, the regulations are ongoing. There's quite a lot of advancement in that area. Basically, I think they are developing almost 19 regulations on this act. So it's an interest for the stakeholders, so that we can get involved in this process of developing the regulations. The authority is also working on the National Building Regulation. That's the building code. It's also quite at an advanced stage, a document that will be able to guide how the construction industry or the buildings in the industry can be regulated. We also have the construction industry policy, document that was developed by the authority to try and guide the construction industry and put in place all the stakeholder involvement into one box and try get good harmonization in this regard. We have the Code of Conduct, a document that has been developed by the authority also to ensure good ethics in our practice. And currently we are also working on the deep excavation and abandoned sites guidelines. So this information, if you look at our document, we've done summaries of what is happening and where we are headed with these documents that will be able to guide the construction industry. That is the end of the presentation. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you very much. Big round of applause for Engineer Stephen Nyakondo, the Manager, Research and Business Development. These documents, I believe, will be on the website, so if you want more in-depth reading, they'll be posted there and you can always follow up. And now, without any further ado, I'd like to welcome the Executive Director, National Construction Authority, Engineer Maurice Akech, who will then, after his speech, welcome the board chairperson as well. A round of applause for Engineer Maurice Akech. Thank you so much as he goes up. Asante sana.
Our chief guest,
the Principal Secretary, State Department of Public Works, Dr. Lodon Kialangwa, that is a retired Major General, our Chairman of the Board of NCA, QS David Gaido, all board members present, that's the board members of National Construction Authority, CEO colleagues in the room, chairpersons of other institutions in the room, the management of National Construction Authority, all our dear invited guests from several institutions represented here today, members of the Fourth Estate, without forgetting our MC as well, who is also part of that estate, but today here on a different capacity. Good morning, everyone. It's another week for National Construction Authority, where we are here to do a very special launch, having done one last week, just about 3 or 4 days ago on Friday, where we launched our strategic plan. Part of what we are launching today is actually feeds into that plan that was launched on Friday. So we are very hot on our heels in terms of implementation of the plan. So we are not giving it any break. So before I share my remarks, I want to appreciate each and every one of you, especially our chief guest, who was with us on Friday, and also those who are also with us on Friday, for finding time to convene again with us here today. I think this venue, maybe it was by design or coincidence, that it was chosen for this launch, especially for Nacra, National Construction Research Agenda, Edition 2, because this is where this particular task force, or the committee chaired by Dr. Christopher Mbatha, was inaugurated on 13th of May, 2019. So I think that is either coincidence or by design, but sometimes things happen for a good reason. The other clarity I want to make, or just to drive home, is that the two documents we are launching today are actually closely related. Why do I say so? Even though one is looking smaller in size, and the other one is bigger in size, the one that is bigger in size will come out many times before it can consume the smaller one. Because the smaller one is going to be the factory that will be manufacturing information that will be going into the bigger one. That is what I want us to be clear about, even as we launch the two today. So that's another coincidence that we are having before us here today. And I want to appreciate the team that has worked on this tirelessly, these two documents, led by two separate chairpersons of those separate committees, to ensure that even though they were working separately, but they were closely interdependent, to ensure that the launch is done on the same day, the same time, the same guest, the same audience, and the same venue. I think that's by God's plan as well. Ladies and gentlemen, let me take this opportunity to keep reminding us that the mandate of National Construction Authority is to oversee the construction industry and coordinate its development. That last part, which is coordination, is only possible by your support, by you coming every other time, or taking your rightful role every time we call upon you to give us support from time to time. We have, out of the 14 functions, which in March 2020, we added another one, which is the building code, divided those many functions into 3 pillars: in regulatory, capacity building, and advisory. All those 3 key pillars are actually informed by these documents that we are launching here today. Because for us to have a proper regulatory framework, and you have seen in one of the 8 themes, one of them is legal and regulatory framework. If you look at capacity building, you've seen a theme on capacity development. If you look at advisory as one of the pillars, all those themes, which are supposed to be done under research, actually feed into that particular advisory theme. So today's event is an event that overacts all those other pillars as we offer our services on day-to-day basis at the National Construction Authority. So in order to achieve all the authority's objectives, especially in the research function, initially in 2014, there was need to launch National Construction Research Agenda, which has now grown in size, both laterally and vertically. Even the launch in 2014 of that particular document, I'm sure 7 years later, which is today, even the knowledge you had then is not the same knowledge you had today, even for those who are able to attend that one and are attending this one today. Let me also appreciate that there were those who were not there at that time, and they are here with us today. That is a growth that we cannot take for granted. So today, we are here to do another one, not because the previous one has expired, but because it has delivered its mandate, and there is now need to focus more into other areas of research so that we're able to move on. How have we been able to disseminate the researches we have done in the previous Nacra document? One was through the coming up with a conference, which we have done 3 times. That is in 2016, 2017, and 2018. But 2019, we did not do it. Again, 2020, we did not do it. But one thing that we have done that is very unique this year, at the beginning of the year, that's around January, we did one that was virtual. And I think the attendance was even much bigger because it was attended from all parts of the world through the digital platform. That is an innovation that, again, we cannot wish away. So under the previous conferences we have done, we have been able to present a number of papers. I'll not name them by name, but we did 25 in the first conference, 25 papers among many other activities. We also did 29 the following year. Then the year that followed, we did 9. I know somebody will be asking, why are we fluctuating? It's the weight of the paper, not the number of the papers presented. Those 9 were huge enough to cover the entire duration, but even the day or the year we did 29, we above what we covered in the year that we did 29. That's the year 2016. What is important to share with you is that from those researches presented, they have also informed a number of policy makings or policy changes that we have seen in the industry, and we hope, even as we launch this one today, to also inform those policies. What is unique in today's launch is that apart from those conferences, we will not now need to wait until you have an annual conference. Every year, you'll be getting a book like this, where the research is done will be disseminated in that particular book. You can be reading it from the comfort zone of your office or wherever you'll be at that particular time. And just to also inform the audience is that this particular information will also be available in our website, or website of National Construction Authority, nca.go.ke. Of course, you put the 3 W's before you go in. Because I don't want Nacra to take much space than the CIO, allow me now, our chief guest, to talk about the construction industry outlook. And again, as I said earlier, this is the first time we are launching this particular one. And the unique advantage is being launched by its mom or mother that will be producing information that will be going into it. Somebody may be asking, if you are born the same time with your mom, when were you conceived? It was conceived at the same time with the mother, but because we had prior information that also developed that strategy to come up with the Nakra, most of this information came from other industry players, and as you heard, the chair of this particular CIO was uniquely identified to be from Kenya National Bureau of Statistics. This is what they do on an annual basis, actually a daily basis that forms an annual economic outlook. So we are not competing with what they do, we are complementing, so that just by pulling this document, they are able to beef up or add value into what they produce from time to time. Other issues have been shared with you, so it will not be fair to repeat, especially those high-level figures that have been presented to us by the previous presenters. So mine was just to highlight and let us know that today is a very unique moment for us in history as an institution, and we're looking forward to the growth and development of these two documents, even as we move forward. As I finalize, I want to say that even though only 8 themes are presented, but from the booklet, if you look at it, under each theme, we have a sub-theme. So we're looking at 40 areas to research on for the next 5 years. I think we are talking of about 40 PhDs or 40 masters, and as they say at the end of every research, there's always a recommendation for further research. We do not know. What we know for sure is that we'll do 40. What we do not know is how many more we'll do further as a recommendation for further research areas. And as they do those researches in collaboration, in partnership, we expect that the output should be shared with NCA so that we can also be able to benefit from the product that we're launching today. So the future we envision depends on the groundwork we lay today. And National Construction Research Agenda 2020-2024, as well as the Construction Industry Outlook, are key to the realization of that future. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for coming to bear with us this very critical moment. And I want to say, let's work together. Na karibuni sana. Asanteni. It's now my duty, honor and pleasure to invite the chairman of the Board of National Construction Authority, QS David Mwangi Gaido, to give us his remarks. And upon giving us his remarks, he'll also in turn invite the chief guest, who is our PS, to come also give us his keynote speech. A round of applause for our chair.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Another round of applause for Engineer Morris Akech and QS David Gaido. Thank you so much. I'd also like to recognize the presence of Professor Robert Rukwaro, the Principal School of Architecture and Engineering at the University of Nairobi. Just wave to them, sir. I'm sure most of you have gone through his hands. A round of applause for him. Asante sana. Board Chair, over to you.
Our PS, Major General Retired Gordon Kihalango,